that, and I mentioned this in finance yesterday, excuse me, as has already been mentioned, we have a budget that makes cuts, that reverses earlier promises, if you will. And all the while, the only thing we have explored is how to make the cuts. And all the while, this entire session, for the second year in a row, we have watched other states take advantage of us and our refusal to accept certain money that could be used for programs to affect this budget, to make other funds available. I'm not saying we wouldn't have to make cuts at all, but I am saying that the cuts could be reevaluated in light of the money that we have intentionally walked away from. And I don't understand why we've done it. A few weeks ago, the Senate passed a bill so that we could comply with some federal rule and get road money, federal road money. I think it passed unanimously. Last night, we passed a bill so that we could get under some kind of federal rule, so that we could get federal money, but that money will go actually to health care purposes for people in jail. Now, I have a hard time telling my constituents that I support getting the federal money for somebody in jail, but not for someone making minimum wage who can't pay their rent. And I supported that bill. It passed unanimously as well. This legislature heard from the governor last year, the governor say what he wanted to do with Medicaid. And all year he talked about it, and he made excellent points along the way. And he's asked for things that he hasn't gotten, and Washington says they won't give or whatever. Well, ladies and gentlemen, why don't we strengthen his hand? The governor wants a bill that says we will take Medicaid dollars if there's a copay, something that the feds have argued with him about. Well, let's pass a bill that puts that in there. He wants to pass a bill that addresses utilization rates so that someone who goes to the emergency room 200 times a year may actually feel the pinch a little bit or have to pay something. Well, I mean, surely we could come to some kind of an agreement on utilization rates. He wants to pass a bill or at least have some kind of program that addresses wellness issues, that addresses dish payments for those of us who represent rural areas with these hospitals that depend on disproportionate share payments that are going away. Well, let's pass a bill that puts it in there. Other states have done that. Other states have passed a bill so that their governor then goes to Washington to tell the federal government, if you want to play ball in our state, these are the rules. And they've won. And as a result, Mr. Speaker, they're spending our tax dollars. They're spending our tax dollars. I watch every election cycle, as you all do too. It seems to be the #1 conservative principle trumpeted from every elected official. We should get the benefit of our own tax dollars. And we have willfully said no. And I don't understand it. Pass a bill that says, here's the rules. We'll set our own rules. And we'll provide health care for people. And in the process, this debate was going on in the House earlier today. And there have been discussions with other folks in the past week. In the process, you actually end up in a position where some of these cuts go away. $1 billion this year, maybe $1 billion next year. The 100% funding. I mean, we have just intentionally said no, except for these smaller programs. We'll take the federal money for the roads. We'll take the federal money for the jails. Take the federal money for nursing homes. Passed that bill yesterday. I think we'll have it up at some point today. So my objection to this budget, I don't envy Leader Norris in having to carry it. He and I have had that conversation. And I don't envy the governor in trying to make the decision on the cuts. I disagree with some of the priorities. But my main objection, ladies and gentlemen, is our intentional refusal to walk away from at least a partial cure. All the while, other states taking our money. Their populations get healthier. Their budgets take the money, and we don't. And we haven't explored any of that. As a legislative body, we haven't explored any of that. So, Mr. Speaker, when I came into my last session, I didn't anticipate voting no on a budget. I have supported every budget since I've been here. But this will be my first no vote on the budget because I do disagree with a number of the cuts. But beyond that, I disagree with the fact that there is a way out that we haven't taken. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Kelsey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This legislature has discussed that issue, and we passed a bill on this issue. Last year, there was testimony on the Stop Obamacare Act that any federal funds that we refuse to take go toward paying down the $17 trillion federal debt. That's what we did when we passed that bill last week. We've discussed it up here for 2 years, and we made a decision. We decided that we want to ensure the fiscal responsibility of Tennessee going forward, because this would be just like any other program in which the federal government would put us on, get us out there with the hook of federal dollars, and then a few years later take it away, and Tennessee tax dollars, Tennessee taxpayers would be left footing the bill. That's why we passed that bill. It says at the end of it that the General Assembly can pass a resolution saying otherwise. You can put that at the end of any bill. The General Assembly can always come back and repeal a statute, but as long as we don't repeal that statute, we've made that decision in Tennessee. We're not going to take those federal funds away from our grandchildren, and we're not going to leave Tennessee taxpayers left footing the bill going forward. We're going to follow in the footsteps of our fiscally responsible forefathers in Tennessee, and we're going to ensure that this budget is balanced going forward. And that's why I support it.